In Mauritania, a 40-kilometer-wide bullseye sits in the Sahara Desert, so large that astronauts used it as a landmark from orbit. From the ground, it can be hard to understand. There are ridges, gravel, heat, and bands of rock stretching across a dry plateau. But from space, the landscape becomes an eye. Concentric rings circle a center. Dark plateaus frame pale sand. Ancient rock layers appear like a target pressed into the desert. The Eye of the Sahara, also called the Richat Structure, is real, enormous, and best understood from above. Confirmed, it is a circular geologic structure in northern Mauritania. Disputed, why it became so perfectly eye-like. Interpretive, why that shape keeps attracting legends about impact craters, lost cities, and Atlantis. The Richat Structure lies on the Adrar Plateau in northwestern Africa. It is not a city ruin hiding under sand. It is not a crater with a raised rim and melted impact glass. It is a natural formation made of exposed rock layers, ridges, valleys, and eroded sedimentary and igneous materials. The surrounding desert helps create the illusion. When the Sahara becomes a huge plain of color and texture, a circular structure stands out sharply. Confirmed, satellite images and astronaut photographs made the feature globally famous. Interpretive, the eye-like shape is partly a matter of viewpoint. From orbit, the pattern is obvious. From the ground, the pattern becomes fragments. That gap between ground view and space view is where the mystery begins. The first tempting explanation is impact. Circular structure, desert surface, giant rings. It sounds like a meteorite crater. And early interpretations did consider that possibility, because large impacts can create circular scars on Earth. But geology asks for more than a circle. A real impact structure should leave specific evidence: shocked minerals, impact melt, breccia, deformation patterns, and a crater architecture that fits the violence of collision. Confirmed, the Richat Structure was once interpreted by some as an impact feature. Disputed, that interpretation is now rejected by most geologists. The circle is real. The impact story is not strong enough. The better explanation is slower, older, and more interesting. The leading scientific explanation is an uplifted geologic dome exposed by erosion. Imagine rock layers that were once more horizontal. Then underground forces push them upward into a broad dome. Over immense time, wind and water strip away the surface. Different rock types resist erosion differently. Harder rocks stand as ridges. Softer rocks wear down into valleys. What remains is a set of circular bands. Confirmed, NASA and the U.S. Geological Survey described the structure as an eroded dome or domed anticline. Confirmed, the exposed center contains older rocks than the outer rings. Interpretive, the beauty of the eye comes from time acting like a sculptor, not from one sudden disaster. The rings are not painted onto the desert. They are differences in rock. Some layers are more resistant, including quartzite sandstones that can hold ridges. Other layers erode more easily, leaving lower channels between the bands. That is why satellite images show an onion-like pattern. The structure is not one perfect wall. It is a series of raised and lowered bands, carved from rock types with different strengths. Confirmed, erosion by wind, sand, and ancient water shaped the exposed dome. Interpretive, the rings look artificial because erosion revealed a hidden geometry that was already inside the rocks. The desert did not create the dome. It uncovered it. Astronauts noticed the eye because it is a rare kind of landmark. A coastline is easy to recognize. A mountain range can guide the eye. But the Sahara often appears as vast texture from orbit. Inside that texture, the Richat Structure becomes a target. NASA notes that astronauts have been drawn to it for about as long as humans have been sent into orbit. Confirmed, astronaut photography helped bring the structure to public attention. Interpretive, the eye became famous because it solves a visual problem in spaceflight. It gives the viewer a fixed mark in a sea of sand. That does not make it artificial. It makes it memorable. Then there is the Atlantis claim. Online theories point to the rings and argue that the eye matches Plato's description of a circular city with alternating bands of land and water. It is visually seductive. A ringed structure. A desert that could once have held water. A lost civilization myth waiting for a map. But resemblance is not evidence. Confirmed, the Richat Structure is a natural geologic formation. Disputed, claims that it is Atlantis or the remains of a lost city. The missing evidence is huge: no confirmed urban walls, no harbor system, no datable city layer matching the claim, no archaeological record proving a vanished capital at the rings. The shape invites the story. The evidence does not support it. Rejecting Atlantis does not make the region empty. The wider Adra region has real human history, stone tools, rock art, caravan routes, and medieval settlements across the Sahara. That matters because the false version can distract from the real one. The strongest story is not that a fantasy city vanished inside the eye. It is that humans lived, moved, traded, painted, and survived around harsh desert landscapes for thousands of years. Confirmed, the surrounding region contains archaeological and historical traces. Interpretive, the eye works best as a natural landmark inside a human landscape, not as proof of a lost supercivilization. The mystery becomes better when it stops trying to force a myth onto the geology. So is the Eye of the Sahara solved? Mostly, yes. The scientific explanation is strong: uplift, rock layers, and erosion. But solved does not mean boring. The remaining wonder is the precision of the pattern. Why did this dome erode into such a clean bullseye? Why does it look so organized from orbit? How did ancient water, wind, rock resistance, and structure combine to make a form that seems designed? Confirmed, the formation is natural. Interpretive, its power comes from a collision between scale and pattern. Our brains see intention in circles, especially when the circle is enormous. The eye is not mysterious because science has no answer. It is mysterious because the answer still looks impossible. The best reading is this: the Eye of the Sahara is a natural geologic dome made famous by the viewpoint of space. From orbit, erosion becomes design. Rock layers become rings. A remote plateau becomes an eye staring out of Africa. That is why impact crater claims and Atlantis theories keep returning. They are attempts to make the pattern feel as dramatic as it looks. But the real story is already dramatic. Deep time lifted the rocks. Wind and water cut them down. Satellites and astronauts revealed the pattern. And modern viewers turned a geologic structure into one of the most recognizable natural mysteries on Earth. If this case made you rethink natural mysteries, stay with the Mystery Atlas TV. For the Eye of the Sahara, which clue would you verify first? The impact evidence, the dome layers, the erosion pattern, or the Atlantis claim? It is how Earth can make something that looks like one from orbit. The myth keeps winning online because it has a perfect thumbnail. A giant circle in the desert. A name like the Eye of the Sahara. A resemblance to a famous lost city story. And satellite images that feel like secret evidence. That combination is powerful, but it can also flatten the real place. It turns a complex geologic and human landscape into a puzzle waiting for one dramatic answer. Confirmed, the structure is visually extraordinary. Interpretive, people are drawn to it because circles feel intentional, especially when they appear at impossible scale. That is the hook. The responsibility is not to remove wonder. It is to aim wonder at the strongest evidence. The best reading is this: the Eye of the Sahara is a natural geologic dome made famous by the viewpoint of space. From orbit, erosion becomes design. Rock layers become rings. A remote plateau becomes an eye staring out of Africa. That is why impact crater claims and Atlantis theories keep returning. They are attempts to make the pattern feel as dramatic as it looks. But the real story is already dramatic. Deep time lifted the rocks. Wind and water cut them down. Satellites and astronauts revealed the pattern. And modern viewers turned a geologic structure into one of the most recognizable natural mysteries on Earth. If this case made you rethink natural mysteries, stay with the Mystery Atlas TV. For the Eye of the Sahara, which clue would you verify first? The impact evidence, the dome layers, the erosion pattern, or the Atlantis claim?